everyone, Jason from Trade Games. How you doing?
Chris, hello.
And coming at you with a new video. It's been a couple weeks. We've been really busy. It's that hot time of the summer, kids out of school, you know, all that fun stuff. And I don't know, maybe we just haven't had a whole lot to talk about. It's kind of been status quo with stuff going on. But we wanted to get at you, and Chris has a lot of talking to do. He came up with this really neat idea for us to talk about. It is the middle of the year heritage auction, signature auction.
Yep.
And I mean, we are just expecting lots of, everybody's been talking about a lot of record sales on a ton of stuff, and that's what everybody talks about. So Chris is like, let's talk about some just stuff that, some other ideas, some other ways to look at the auction and what's selling and possibilities of what stuff will sell for. It's kind of fun. And yeah, I said, let's run with it. I mean, it was all Chris' idea, but you know, his logic behind it is, yeah, let him talk about it, and then you can think about it.
Sure. So really, it's just like the last time we did like the signature talk. I brought up a bunch of games that we thought were going to sell for like crazy amounts of money, and then we also talked about some games that just I don't think garner enough attention. And it seemed like a lot of people really liked to hear about the games that didn't garner as much attention. So basically, I just was going through the signature auctions, and there's some like really cool games up there now that are like barely being bid on. I did all this yesterday when I came up with this list, so things have probably changed since I wrote this list.
We have 7 days left.
Yeah, 7 days left. So
at the time of this.
Today is Thursday the 1st, and the signature is next Friday and next Sunday. And for all we know, we might not upload this until Sunday, so who knows what day you're watching this, so these prices will not be exact. But basically, there was something that, two things I want to talk about. So I have a lot of people propose the question that says, so we've seen these games like Mario and Zelda and all this stuff realize these like crazy high numbers. What game do I personally think is a game that deserves to realize that crazy high number and hasn't yet? In this upcoming signature, and this will be the only like really top end game and value I talk about, my vote just goes to Final Fantasy. There's a 988++, which is like, you know, essentially almost perfect copy of a game that I think deserves a strong word, but like if Mario and all this do 6 figures, I feel like Final Fantasy should too for a first printing of a first copy on NES. It is in a black box, which makes it a pain in the butt to get that high of a grade on there. As it stands right now, it's sitting at 32 grand. It is the 11th highest bid item in that. I just feel like everyone's already going to talk to you about like Mario and Zelda and stuff like that, and you already know. In the top 10 games in Heritage right now of what has bids currently, 6 of them are Mario titles, 2 of them are Zelda titles, and then there's an NWC cart and a 988+ Contra. So what I did is just kind of go through and just say like, what are some games that just, I don't know, I wanted to be the one to talk about them because I don't think they get enough attention. And I think there's some pretty cool games in there that are also in really pristine condition. So that's it. It's going to be kind of a short and sweet one. I'm going to rattle some of them off to you.
And now, tell them the logic behind this.
Well, and then
just what you're thinking.
So, I was going to close out with that after that.
My bad.
So, I'll get to that, all right? So, here are some games that I think are really awesome that are in the upcoming signature. So, you have Bubble Bath Babe CIB, and it's in at $900. You have a Felix the Cat on NES. It's a 968+, and it's at $2,200. You have an RC Pro AM. It's RC Pro AM 2, excuse me. It's a 968+, and it's also at $2,600. And then a Lufia 2 988++ is at $1,100. You got Truxton, which is a 96A at $200, which is Sega. You got Ghoul School, a 92A at $135. And I'm sorry if it's boring that I'm rattling titles, but there's not too crazy many. King's Quest V is at a 9.0A+, and it's sitting at $14 right now. Zen the Intergalactic Ninja, which is a 9.4A, it's at $260. Chavez 2, 8.0A+, so that's a little bit of a lower grade, but freaking uncommon.
It's very hard to find.
Yeah,
and CIB.
Yeah, exactly. And it's at $155. UN Squadron 9.0B Plus. I just don't think that game gets enough credit in general when it gets compared to Aero Fighters, and it's a super popular game. But it's also sitting at $155. I just think this is really cool. I haven't really personally seen one. The King James Bible for Game Boy. I don't think I've ever even seen that complete, let alone sealed. Low grade, 6.5A plus, which is kind of interesting to see that it's like that low of a box damage, but what they consider perfect seal, basically. That's $155. I'm about halfway done, so bear with me. Stop That Roach on Game Boy. That game is uncommon as hell. 9.6A++. It's sitting at $200. Phantasy Star on Sega Master System. That's a 9.4B+. It's also sitting at $250. Alicia Dragoon is a 9.6, and I think it's A. I guess I didn't write that one down, and it's at $180. Toki Going Ape Spit on Sega Genesis at a 9.8A+ is at $100.
It's hard to find CID.
Really hard to find. That's kind of common in a lot of the stuff I feel like I wrote down anyway. And maybe that's my perception. Maybe yours is different. But
I have 10 people who need that game.
Yeah.
The manual for that game.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that, which is why I made the list. Buster Groove 2 on PlayStation 1, 9.8A++ is at $20. The last copy we had here, complete, sold for $250. It might actually have been $189. I think I said that was a little higher. But Guardians Crusade for PS1, 9.8A++ is at $100. Hoshigami, 9.8A, that's an Atlas title, and that is also at $260. This is the game that made me decide to do this whole list. And there's an Intelligent Cube for PlayStation 1 at a 9.8A, sitting at $52.
Why is that game so popular?
It's just a really, really well-received, popular game. And
how do people? I might know something you don't know.
Shoot.
Why do so many people want that game? Because of the
demo
gameplay?
discs?
The demo disc.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to say, yeah. So
everybody got the demo disc for free in that one level, and it's so addictive.
Well, and you know, it's funny, I actually, just as we spawn off for that for a second, there's a lot of games I remember from childhood for PS1 that I think I played, and then when I really think about it now as an adult, I'm like, I actually think I own that. I'm pretty sure I just had like the PlayStation Magazine demos, and so even Spyro the Dragon, I don't think I ever owned, but I think I had like a Pizza Hut mailer, and I just played the hell out of the first level.
Yep.
You know, when you're like 10, whatever, it was a free video game, right? Oh, yeah. Tail Concerto is at a 9.8A+, and that's at $260. This is a personal love of mine. Tomba 1 and 2, we got a 9.8A and a 9.8A+. Respectively, they were both sitting between $200 and $300. I just hyphenated it here, so I don't know exactly which one. Dark Cloud 2, yet another one of my guilty pleasures. I don't say guilty pleasures, wrong way to word it. It's a great game. 9.8A+ at $260. And Shadow of the Colossus 9.6A+ at $105. Okay, so at those prices, which were as of 24 hours ago, less than $10,000 total. I actually think it was like $10,165. I wrote down 10 grand, right? So that's 24 games that I just listed. If, hypothetically, obviously the numbers that I'm telling you right now are way less than what these games are going to realize. Like, they will see a lot of movement, okay? But with that being said, if I ran the math on all of them and said every one of these sold for $5,000, which is not a small amount of money for a video game, that would come to $120,000, okay? Right now, just Mario 64 and a 9.8A++, I'm not arguing how important that game is, I'm not getting into any of that, but it's currently sitting at $120,000. So, to me, with the way these markets are going up, and I don't know, you know, a lot of people look at these as investments. Some people think it's a crazy thought to look at video games as investable. It depends on who you are, on what field, and whatever you want to, however you want to take it. But if I was personally trying to buy video games as an investment, I would feel way safer buying 24 games at under $5,000 than one game at over $100,000, right? So, and this is kind of what I had brought up to him. I was like, all right, so, and the Mario, I think it's probably going to sell for like well over $300,000 actually, so like we're so far off on that 120. That's just my speculative guess. I genuinely believe that. I mean, it's already the all-time record for Mario 64. Yeah. Well, I just think it's going to sell for well over $250,000. I'd probably guess around like 328 or something weird. I don't know. It's just a weird number, right? But so like, let's just say theoretically that it sells for $100,000. So, depending on how the market corrects itself, a lot of these games are going up in value. They are. A lot of games are going down too. But so, if you saw a 20% increase in your purchase, you'd make 20 grand. And that's a really good profit, right? If you saw a 20% decrease, you'd lose 20 grand. That's a pretty big hit. No one wants to lose $20,000. That's not fun. I would feel much safer if I had $100,000 in expendable income to be buying $25,000 games, because some of them will appreciate and some of them will depreciate. But it just blows my mind, right? Like, think of the titles that I just listed to you. Some of these games are crazy desired CIB, loose, they're popular, they have YouTube talking heads talking about, like, Elysia Dragoon 9.6, 180. So a mid-condition sealed Elysia Dragoon is sitting at $200 right now, and Mario 64 is sitting at $125,000, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's actually, Mario 64 has been in the lead the whole time, and Zelda passed it today, so Zelda's actually a 9.0 non-first print. Zelda 1 is at $110,000 plus the BP, so that puts it at $132,000 is what it's sitting at right now. Zelda's my, like, a lot of you know if you watch this, like, I am a Zelda fanboy for sure. I would love to own that game. I would much rather have $100,000 in that game personally. But like, yeah, it's awesome. Like, I'm not discrediting it at all. It's super cool to see a mint condition one, and I am ready for Zelda to have its day, because Zelda hasn't done that yet, and this is the auction that it's gonna, because there's also a 988++ Ocarina of Time in there. So Zelda is gonna be realizing these numbers. But like I said, in the top 10 games, 6 of them are Mario. There's an NWC card, which everyone knows, Contra, and 2 Zeldas. I wanted to be someone that talked to you about some games that not enough people are talking about. I am not telling you that you should go buy all these and they might be the best investment for you ever. I am not even talking about them as investable. I just think they're awesome games in great condition that are pretty dang hard to find, and I just wanted to be the one to call some attention to them. Full disclosure, none of them are ours, so none of these games are mine, none of these games are his. I have one game in the signature, and it's the Jetsons that you've seen sitting on this table in previous videos, so that is my only game in the signature auction.
Right in the middle of the signature auction is the weekly, the Tuesday weekly, and it may not have the best rarest titles, but it has a lot of really high grade stuff in it, very surprising. There's a lot of 988 pluses and a lot of 968 pluses in the weekly that ends on Tuesday. So, you know, 5 days or so left at the time of recording this. That I hope don't get. I mean, from a buying standpoint, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I actually have some games in it, so, you know, I hope they're not overlooked for the signature, but. Some really high-grade stuff in the middle of this, too.
And sometimes, you know, some people are saving up money for that next signature, so it's just kind of the luck of the draw, you know. There might be some people that want to spend that money right away, early. You know, I look at the Heritage Weeklies every single week. I spend every single Tuesday night watching it end live, and I think I've maybe missed one since they started doing it. I just had like a date, you know.
With the holiday, 4th of July holiday, right in the middle of the weekly and the signature, who knows how that affect things.
I'm on vacation, and I was talking to him, like, should I be sitting there listening to the, you know, signature in my AirPods, watching it on my iPhone lying on the beach? Like, I don't know, maybe. But, you know, the weeklies still have some really good games in there, and what I see them kind of do with a lot of weeklies is they'll put a couple ringers in and then a couple other stuff, and, you know, there's tons of good games that end every single week, and there's some games that, like, I'm finding games I've never even seen before just by watching them. And neither did you, had really ever seen Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 Dual Pack on Game Boy. Didn't know that existed. I just never seen it personally, and then I saw one grade and it was only like a 6, and like I bid on it, I did not win it, and it ended for what, you know, it was a 6.08 plus. I just think it was super cool. I probably would have paid a lot more than like what I bid on it. I just don't like Mortal Kombat that much. I'm more of a Street Fighter guy. I just thought it was really rad because I hadn't really seen one. And I'm like, it's a pretty cool piece of Mortal Kombat history. And it only did like $700. You know, I sold a Legacy of Goku on Heritage for $1,000, which I would much rather have the Mortal Kombat than my Legacy of Goku, but it is what it is, right? Yeah. And so, again, this was just kind of like, hey, these games are really cool. There's some pretty special games in there that I think are important in video games. Again, when I saw Intelligent Cube sitting at $50, and it's because there's somewhat this market has already deemed to be like, these are the games you really, really want, and there's a lot of them in this signature. I mean, there is multiple copies of some pretty hard to find games.
Which is different too, also.
Which it doesn't happen too often.
This Heritage auction, the signature auction has a lot of two of the same game.
Yep. Not a lot of the same grades though. So for a good example, I think there's 3 sealed Contras in this auction, but there's an 8.0, a 9.2, and a 9.8. And there is a pretty big deviation between the quality of those 3 games. I'm excited for that just because it gives me a lot more data. Like, I just love combing through the data. And it's going to be interesting to see how big those grade gaps make.
And I think they're doing that on purpose, just to kind of test the water. So I think it should be fine.
Yeah, there's just a lot of games, and this is the first time ever on a Heritage Weekly that, or not, I said Heritage Weekly, I'm sorry, Signature. This is just video games. There is nothing else. This is a signature dedicated to only video games, and that's the first time they've done that. They always like do other signature stuff throughout that same weekend, and someone in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like 90% certain that this is just a video game signature. So again, none of these games are ours. I'm not pumping them for anyone. I don't know what they are. I just went through the signature and went, wow, I can't believe that's in here. Why is Elysian Dragoon sitting at $180? It's crazy. That's basically the sum up of this video, is just to shed some attention and some light on some killer video games that deserve attention and light.
Chris is real excited about it. That's why I let him talk the whole time.
Yep.
But thanks for watching as always.
Yep.
Keep hitting that like and subscribe button if you haven't hit that subscribe button. We're really growing, so we really appreciate it still.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for checking back in with us. And we try to get content out regularly. Just, you know, got to have something that we really want to talk about. Yep. This is what I wanted to talk about this week. So thanks for watching.
See y'all later.
Bye.